And thanks for having me here today. And I'd just like to also maybe thank Nuffield Farming Scholarships and the Royal Highland Society for picking up the tab for quite a journey for me of personal development, meeting amazing people and being part of the Nuffield sort of culture of sharing brilliant ideas and making things happen. So I'm going to speak to you today about what I think is the skill set of a stud breeder and start off with where I think we are now and in the past. I think a stud breeder has had to have a good eye for stock, got to have had a good knowledge of pedigrees, knowing the background, knowing where there might be skeletons hidden in the cupboard. We've had to been great at husbandry and shepherding, been able to nurture every tup lamb that's born and get them into the sale pen. We've had to be good hairdressers, and I mean, you know, we've presented our stock. We've got to present our stock in the best light. Higher performance. We use EBVs in our programme, but whatever your criteria is, the ram you're selling this year has got to be bigger or better some way than the ram we had last year. And I think we've had to be reasonable salesmen. But on my Nuffield trips, and with the help of guys like this and many others like them, I've had a glimpse into the future. So I want to share with you today what the skill set of a future stud breeder might be. So we spoke about being good salesmen. I think we'll need to be good at marketing, and we need to start talking about clients and not punters. I learned that lesson at Texel in New Zealand, where I visited during ram selling time. Matt Holden knew that he had to supply the rams that his clients needed if they were going to come back down the road next year. But he also knew that these rams had to look like the rams that his clients wanted. And that's kind of what marketing is. I think we need to breed the ram that our clients need, but make it look like the ones that they want. We spoke about being a good hairdresser. I think what we need to have is a very good understanding of our clients' profit drivers. This is Tamania Angus in Australia. They run 1,700 Angus cows, but they have an alliance with 40 other commercial herds that use their bulls, and they collect data on a much larger population. They've got full performance data on tens of thousands of cattle, including 7,500 carcass records from commercially grown out feedlot steers that are aimed at the Japox market, which is a 500 kilo carcass weight, very high marbled steer. There's a lot of feed cost goes into producing these cattle. 6 to 8 years ago, these cattle were fed for 350 days to ensure they had the correct level of marbling. And now they're achieving the same level of marbling in under 270 days, which is a massive saving of 80 days on feed. Tom Gubbins puts that down to having predictable genetics. We spoke about higher performance. I think we need to implement a regulator to performance. This bull was he was the inspiration to my trip. The pigs might fly bull. Feed to gain in a pig something about 3 to 1, I'm told. Cattle in a finishing system about 8 to 1 or 20 to 1 if you look at the lifetime performance. Leachman Topline Valedictorian was in a pen that averaged 6 to 1, and he gained 3.2 to 1, which is nearly as good as a pig. The thing was, he looked like his mates, he gained like his mates, but he just ate half the food. So a lot of my trip was just finding where, the story about that bull. Along the way, I met Dr. John Basarab, who's the worldwide guru on feed efficiency, and he's standing here in a research facility in Canada beside GrowSafe bunkers that measure the feed intake of cattle. And I followed this through feedlots and breeders, and And I did a lot of research on this project, but the main message that we kept getting was that we can't keep selecting for outputs with an open checkbook on inputs. I think we've got to have some sort of regulator, whether it's looking at complicated things like feed inputs and feed efficiency, or we put a lid on mature size, or we just realise that there are maybe optimums in some traits. Or what we do at home, we put a bar on inputs. We say we're not feeding creep feed, we're not giving concentrates to rams, and we'll just we'll look at the performance that we can achieve underneath that bar. Good shepherding and husbandry. I think we need to develop systems that challenge the stock. Instead of every lamb that's born getting to the sale pen, we need to set up systems that sort the men from the boys. This guy, 12 years ago, John Knopf was a commercial cattle breeder in the north end of New Zealand. He thought he would like to try his hand at stud breeding, so he went out and bought 400 pedigree Simmental cows and stuck them up in these hills. He asked them to calve it 2, to be quick to rebreed, to have a perfect udder and foot structure, to have excellent temperament and good performance. After 3 years, he reckoned he had found 15 good ones. Another 5 years on, when I was there, he reckoned he was up to 50. 3 years further on, he's just had his third on-farm bull sale where he sold all 81 bulls to average $8,000. John's system was about challenging. He said you got to challenge your genetics and work with the ones that step up to the challenge. This guy in Nebraska, if I'm achieving a 90% conception rate, then I'm not selecting for fertility. If we're going to test things, we've got to accept things are going to have to fail. We spoke about pedigrees. I think we need to have a good understanding of all the genetic tools that are available to us, and I guess that's why we're here today. That's pedigrees and understanding pedigrees. It's understanding EBVs and genomics, the strengths and the weaknesses that are involved there. I'd love to tell you about this horse, but Mark would eat me. So I'll skip over him. An eye for stock. We spoke about an eye for stock. And, of course, we're still going to have an eye for stock, and I'm going to try and explain why. So this is a bit of a crazy slide, but it's about crazy people. So Kit Farrow's the cowboy here. He's going against the grain of all the seed stock producers in North America, really. He's trying to push for cattle with low maintenance, high fertility, low inputs, and feeding bulls only hay in terms of drought and in the winter. Gerald Fry was another crazy guy that I heard of. He'd studied under Jan Bonsma. He had some system about using measuring tapes and measuring girths of cattle, and he would come and measure your cows and give you some ratios and tell you which cow was a winner and which one was a loser. And he was not on my list of people to go and see. So back to this cowboy here, but he could be a shepherd. He's sitting here with an angel and a demon on each shoulder. And the angel is personified here by a geneticist. And I'm going to split the room here, because the demon on the other shoulder is personified by an economist. And the geneticist whispering in one ear, he says, that he's saying you cannot afford not to buy the right bull, the right ram. We're in a sheep conference. The economist is sitting on the other shoulder saying you can't afford the right ram because there's a 3/4 brother across there for 1/3 of the price, and that's good maths. The cowboys sit in the middle, happy in the knowledge that neither of these two jokers is going to pick the right tup anyway. And the reason for that is because of the ballerina. Stay with me. Anna Pavlova was asked after a after a presentation, after a dance. She was asked, what were you trying to say in that dance? And her reply was, had I been able to say it, I shouldn't have had to dance it. If I could have said it, I wouldn't have had to dance it. So Pharaoh had some really sweet cows like this one up here. My grandpa would have said this cow had maternal character. My father told me she would have balance. And I've grown up with these guys and I've asked questions about things and I can remember asking, well, what is this balance? And he would say, well, it's I don't know, she's got it and she doesn't have it. So they could breed for whatever this was, but they couldn't say it in an Anna Pavlova sort of a way. So I was with Kit, Pharaoh, and we were looking at this cow, and I said, my grandpa would like that cow. And he said, well, that's funny, because Gerald Fry really likes that cow, the guy with the measuring tape. We said, I said, well, how, what's the bull that breeds that cow? And he took me to see the son of that cow that they'd used a lot in their herd, which was the bull down the bottom here, who was completely the opposite. He was wedge-shaped the wrong way. He was heavy-fronted, light back-ended. He had really dark skin at his points. He was surrounded by flies because he was using testosterone. But it explained to me this is it's all about efficiency in a beef system was about fertility, and fertility is about reproduction, and reproduction's about sex hormones, and sex hormones are the difference between a steer and a bull or a tup and a wether. So it's character and class. So there's things going on with character and class that we don't really understand. So the eye for the breeder is still involved. We know that a tup has got to look like a tup, but I don't think we know why. But I think Gerald Fry, this crazy guy, I think he maybe understands, and I think someone should go and see him. So that's the skill set of a future stud breeder. We need to understand selection tools. We need to develop systems that challenge our stock. We need to understand our clients' profit drivers. We need to have some sort of regulator to performance, stop this open checkbook in terms of inputs. And we need to be good at marketing, breed the ram that our clients need and make him look like the one that he wants. And we need to have an eye for stock. Thank you very much.